The party walks through the dark and gloomy abyss, the infinite hunting grounds of the demon lord Yeenoghu. As they walk through this treacherous lair, they hear its constant cackle ring out, when suddenly they notice the fighter has disappeared, and then the wizard. Cautiously the ranger walks around, before meeting face to face with a huge crackling hyena with a large flail ready to destroy. Hello, I'm Dr. Wellsticks, and today we're talking about the Demon Lord Yeenoghu. You might be asking, why are we talking about Yeenoghu? And to that, I pose another question. Why aren't you talking about Yeenoghu? It's Yeenoghu. Yeenoghu has one goal, and it's to hunt and consume everything in the world. In its twisted head, it believes the world is made up of predators and prey, and he is the apex predator. Yeenoghu's followers are mostly made up of gnolls that go around and hunt everything and consume whatever they can find. Yeenoghu goes across the abyss, killing everything and anything that stands in its path. The only way to avoid getting smashed by him is either to join him or to get as far away as possible. Whenever Yeenoghu goes on a rampage, though, doesn't matter if you're on his side, there is no stopping him. Interestingly enough, Yeenoghu has an everlasting rivalry with Baphomet, known as the Horned King. They fight constantly, so do the Cultists. Yeenoghu has actually done the most damage to material plane than any other demon lord, which is very funny considering that he is the least intelligent of them all. And also you have ones like Zugdemoy and Grazit who have brains and can actually create plans, but Yeenoghu doesn't really do the whole spending hundreds of years making an extraordinarily and overcomplicated scheme. Yeenoghu just likes to jump in there with his flail and hordes of gnolls and wreak havoc. So, anyway, the first time Yeenoghu rampaged through the material plane, a pack of hyenas followed him and feasted on the corpses he left in his wake. Yeenoghu saw these hyenas, liked them, and transformed them into the first gnolls. Now gnolls run rampant all across the world, and are a permanent reminder of Yeenoghu's wrath. Yeenoghu has very little cultists outside of his gnolls, yet occasionally some crazy people would take to worshipping him. These people are driven away and outcast from society, let's be honest here, most people aren't fond of worshipping demon lords. The cult of Yeenoghu will operate like a pack of gnolls, regardless of the creatures that compose it. They go around killing and eating anything they can find. Yeenoghu infests them with cannibalistic hunger, making them constantly killing anything they encounter. Yeenoghu's lair in the abyss is known as the Death Downs, Yeenoghu's personal hunting grounds. They're filled with rolling hills, ravines, dark forests, and open fields. It is a perfect place for Yeenoghu, where he spends his time capturing mortals and dropping them here for his own personal amusement. This is a place of blood and death, with little to no buildings or any signs of civilization. Yeenoghu fills his lair with gnolls, hyenas, and even ghouls. Like all demon lords, Yeenoghu has some regional effects, and they're pretty funny. The first is that within 1 mile of Yeenoghu's home, iron spikes spurt out of the ground. This is where Yeenoghu impales his enemies on. So, as your party is walking around, they might find an impaled person or two. Another effect is that predatory beasts within 6 miles of his lair are unusually savage. So while hyenas and wolves will still be attacking your players, also things such as elk, deer, bunnies, and even fish will also be attempting to get them. Not to mention, this is D&D, so we got like dinosaurs still, so, have some fun, let's say. The final regional effect is that if a player spends a whole bunch of time within Yeenoghu's lair, they must succeed a DC 17 Wisdom saving throw, or be affected by the madness of Yeenoghu. The most important part about Yeenoghu is obviously its stat block. It has 22 natural armor, an average of 348 hit points, and a movement speed of 50 feet. It has saving throw proficiencies in Dex, Con, and wisdom, as well as skills and intimidation and perception. And it's got a whole host of immunities and resistances. It also has true sight out to 120 feet. It also has legendary resistance, magical weapons, and a very interesting trait that is exclusive to Yeenoghus and Gnolls, which is Rampage. The Rampage effect happens when Yeenoghu reduces a creature to 0 hit points. It allows Yeenoghu to use its bonus action to move up to half its speed and make a bite attack. If you really want to use this effectively, if Yeenoghu has a group of gnolls or such, he can easily quickly kill a gnoll, which will allow him to move to get close to someone such as a wizard and take a large bite out of them. Speaking of bites, let's go check out what Yeenoghu's actions are. As mentioned before, Yeenoghu does have a bite, but despite it being deadly, it is the least of your concerns when compared to his flail. Not only does Yeenoghu's flail deal an absurd amount of damage, but it also has some very strange abilities, including allowing Yeenoghu to deal extra damage, paralyzing those who are hit, or even causing them to be infected by the confusion spell. Now, if Yeenoghu wants to use one of his legendary actions, he can also make a flail attack that, if it hits, the target is going to need to make a DC 24 strength saving throw or be thrown 15 feet away, as well as being knocked prone. But for his other two legendary actions, Yeenoghu can either make a bite attack, which will cost 2 actions, or he can charge, which allows Yeenoghu to move up to his speed. Please note that this charge does not avoid attack of opportunities, unlike a lot of other move legendary actions. Well, that's everything the Demon Lord of Gnolls has to offer. If you found this video helpful for your own game, well, 1, I feel very sorry for your players. But 2, please like, comment, or subscribe. And I will hopefully see you next time with a monster that's maybe a little bit nicer.